So, where are we today on the Zambo television?
You can't have televisions. I'm looking me looking at this.
Well, we can chat. The main focus can be your festival, which is the Havana Glasgow Film Festival. When was the first time you were in Cuba?
I was first in Cuba in 1997, and I went to research an idea for a film. I had a little bit of money, and I went to research an
We'll
idea for a
give
film.
a bit of background on Irene. You've actually worked in TV and film industry, haven't you? You write scripts and stuff.
I went to film school. I went to National Film and Television School in London, and I worked as a screenwriter for about 16, 17 years.
You went to Cuba years ago.
1997.
Fell in love with it. Fell in love with the people.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to go for a long time, but I couldn't afford to go. But I got a little bit of money to research a film, and I managed to, and I went to Cuba for 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
I've known you for a long time as well. You regularly go back to Cuba. You're there.
I've been going back
biannually or yearly.
No, I used to go maybe sometimes 3 times a year.
3 times a year. So
2 or 3 times a year for the last it'll be 30 years next February.
So it pumps through your blood and your soul. The Cubans have been under an American blockade since the early 1960s.
Yeah.
Yep. However, you are just back from Cuba.
Yeah.
And they have tightened the screws on the Cuban people.
They've been doing that. The first round of Trump's I was going to say Trump's dictatorship, but it's kind of like his of Trump's presidency was they introduced new, even more sanctions. Because, for example, one of the things that is there's so many different sanctions, and you wouldn't believe, and even people that know about Cuba don't really understand the amount of sanctions that are against Cuba. For example, as you know, I run the Havana Glasgow Film Festival, which I've been doing for the last 11 years. And
we'll put a link in the description to the Havana Glasgow Film Festival, because we're also going to try to fundraise a little bit, but sorry, Irene, I interjected there.
Well, it's just to say that things which have always been in place, even during Obama's time, is that you cannot, for example, it's very difficult to send money to Cuba through banks. So I couldn't have a bank account called Havana Glasgow. I have to call it HG Film Festival. Otherwise that would be blocked. So
even in the UK, there's an embargo. And you pointed out earlier on, if you are decoupled from the dollar as a trading currency, it can have a real negative effect.
It has an incredible effect because everything
is bought and paid for in dollars.
In dollars. Everything has to go through the dollars. And I don't think a lot of people actually realise that. So when people, for any country to trade, it always goes through the dollar. And so one of the big things that would lessen the power of the United States would be an alternative to the dollar.
Now, when you were over there, they've tightened the sanctions on the Cuban people. How would you meter the spirit of the Cubans at this point?
Well, I was since they've stopped the oil shipments, which all started with capturing, they've stopped the oil shipments. They've made it illegal for any country to send oil to Cuba, right? Which means Cuba has no petroleum going into the country.
Which affects their ability to produce food, import, export.
Well, it just affects their ability to do anything. If there's no oil, there's no electricity.
So that's kind of an act of collective punishment.
Collective punishment. It's illegal. You're not allowed to do it, but they think they're above the law because because it seems that they are above the law in many ways. Because
they're above the law when they're picking on small countries who find it difficult to defend themselves. As soon as they go up against a country that can defend themselves, they're not as invincible as they think. There's an embargo on oil and gas.
There's an embargo on anybody going into business with Cubans. I mean, some people, if you want to go into business in Cuba, you have to have a way to not engage with the dollar. Or, I mean, I have a couple of friends that are economists, so it'd be good to they
talk
could be
to
more
chat
clearer,
to them.
you know, more specific on that. But what I know is, like, for example, they could do something, you know, during COVID, they made 4 vaccines. 4 vaccines. You know that nobody gets COVID now in Cuba? Nobody gets COVID because they made proper vaccines, but they could do the vaccines, but they could not manufacture the syringes, right?
Oh my goodness.
So they had the vaccines and no syringes. And so when Danny, who's the who works with in the festival, he's part of our festival team, they tried to raise money
For them to
for syringes, to send syringes. Now that was blocked, Phil, because it was for Cuba. It was for helping Cuba. So they were not, all the money that they took in, they just took it back, and that was blocked. So that's for things like syringes. So they can. There's lots of things. Every country needs
basic
another
infrastructure, nuts and bolts stuff that any
we
country.
cannot produce everything ourselves. We say we produce this and we'll send that to you, and you
Yeah,
produce
yeah,
that
yeah,
and you
yeah,
send.
yeah, yeah.
So there's certain things, for example, they've not been able to, you know, they've got their electricity grid is very, very old, and they don't have all the nuts and bolts, as you say, they call it, to be able to repair it. Like the cars that they've got, you know, the famous old cars,
Yeah.
they can't get the parts. They have to invent things. So they're brilliant at inventing ways to do
mending,
things.
repairing, keeping
Yeah.
stuff
Which is very good for the planet as well.
So despite these crushing sanctions from that orange balloon in the States, the Cuban people's spirit is still alive and kicking.
Well, it is in many ways. Obviously, it's very, very hard, and it is really hard. I mean, I was so worried before I went. I was like worried what I was going to find, worried how my friends would be. It was my cousin that said to me, Joy, she'd just come back from being in Cuba in January, and she was devastated to see old people in things she'd never seen before. Old people trying to find things in the rubbish, you know, things that would never have happened before. She could see the level of poverty had really risen, and it was breaking her heart. And she said, Irene, I want to go back to Cuba with 24 cases of AIDS. Are you with me? And I said, yeah, let's go, because I was also wanting to go back, but I was nervous to go. I didn't want to go on my own. I wanted to go with somebody so we could do something together. Even though I've got loads of friends there, when I say nervous, that's the wrong word. I wanted to go.
Apprehensive, maybe?
Yeah, just thinking, what am I going to find? Is it going to be emotionally? And then I got there, and I'm going, bloody hell, it's not really that much. In so many ways, it's not different. Having said that, I'm in Havana, which is suffering less than the provinces and suffering less than places, you know, because obviously Havana is the big city. But it was, it was hard work because we were giving out aid. We were going around community centres, finding places that we knew that we could help.
So you are fundraising in Scotland to try to get to Cuba, to get your friends and people aid? It's mainly solar panels and...
Well, we took solar panels, we bought...
You physically took them, or you bought them over there?
We bought them there, because you can't physically...
take them on a plane.
You can't take an eco-flow, you can't take a big battery on a plane. You've got to take it by sea. But there are lots that are being shipped over there, and that you might buy something in another country and then ship it, or they're already shipped.
But again, there's a skunking big American aircraft carrier off the coast of Cuba that's stopping oil supplies to the country, so even trying to get stuff...
So now when other countries, I mean, I know Mexico were saying that we're going to send oil. They didn't stop the Russian tanker. They wouldn't. Yeah, the Russian tanker went in with 700 tons. But all the oil that they took was only enough for 2 days.
That's crazy.
You see what I mean? So that's like... So you need... But what's happening is China are sending solar panels. So so the solar energy is their focus now. So,
but solar energy isn't pushing a truck across the country. Diesel seems to be the thing that industry moves on. You know,
it's hard to get an electric lorry.
Yeah.
So you've got you can have Cuba was always interested in transport within a city. So when you've got different areas, I mean, I was involved in people really. I mean, in Cuba, you have people really thinking about people's lives.
Right.
So when you think, what should a government be for? When a government should be for looking at. If you're the head of a
Yeah,
government,
look at the nuts
how
and
do I
bolts.
make sure all the people are okay?
Yeah, the nuts
How
and
do I
bolts.
make sure everybody's okay?
Roads,
That should be-
communications, healthcare.
that is your job. Why we don't think that is the job of government, I don't know. People think the job of the government is to steal and make money for themselves. The job of a government
we
is
let
to
them
look.
away with it. We
Why
let them
does
away with it.
nobody? The job of a government is to look after its people.
The citizens.
Is to figure things out. So when they were doing this transport system, for example, they think, okay, in Havana Vieja, the best thing that works is a bicycle or a bicycle or these bici taxis, which are bicycles that carry two passengers.
Okay.
The best things for the outskirts is a bus.
Yeah.
A bus, but buses in the central where some of the buildings are old and you don't want big buses turning round so they were trying to so that in that area you would probably these electric cars will be brilliant for that within.
But again, it's generating the electricity. There's only so much you'll be able to do from solar. At some point you'll need compressed natural gas.
I think there'll be a way to do. I mean, you just need someone to work out how to. I mean, you can already get battery-driven cars, Phil. You'll be able to get battery-driven lorries. You will be able to do that from solar.
We have electric buses in Glasgow as we speak, so it's more than possible. However, you're looking at £150,000 for the bus. You have to get it there, then you have to work out a way to charge up. Irene, we have been looking at a cup that says the Havana Glasgow Film Festival for the past 11 minutes. How do we help you get some money over to Cuba?
Well, we set up I set up an account for the convoy, what did I call it? The wee solidarity convoy.
I'll stick a link in the description to the video.
So it's kind of it's separate from Havana Glasgow, and because the Havana Glasgow Film Festival is separate, but
it's a cultural exchange between Glasgow filmmakers.
This is a cultural link, but this is specific money. So to help, we took medical aid. We took like small batteries, small solar panels, that kind of thing. We took Green City Whole Foods gave us food to take. Right. I showed them how to make porridge. I've got a little film that I can send you of me teaching them how to make porridge. So basically we took money and with the money there we bought eco-flows and panel for community centres. So Cuba's really great at having community centres where they look after, cook food for the kids and the old people in the community. And we've already got connections through the film festival with wonderful communities, and we're supporting them through our campaign.
I am going to stick some links in the description. I think this has been a fascinating conversation. Would you come back on to Zambo TV again, Irene?
I will.
You will. And next time...
Because I talk so much, Phil.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. One of the biggest issues with me is talking over people. I'm so used to just doing this myself. We'll get Irene back on and we will get some updates on this. However, I think this is absolutely fascinating. On a bigger geopolitical level, I don't think the American government has ever been weaker than they are just now, and let's hope that some good comes to this. Will the Cubans fight?
Oh, they're invaded.
Yeah.
Yes, they will. Absolutely. I mean, my pal Doris is like that. Just let them come here. I'm going to be ready, and she just, I don't mean she's a.
So the Cuban revolutionary spirit is still alive and kicking.
It's very alive and kicking. People will want to. I mean, when I say alive and kicking, the population has been decimated. The young people are leaving.
They're all leaving. Right,
because there's not it's opportunities not there. But I tell you, the thing that's been said by a wonderful musician, I want the right to stay, and what Cubans deserve is the right to stay in their country, and that for me was something, the right to stay, and anything that can support the Cubans and their economy. And people to be able to live their lives in their homeland without some
Foreign
other
intervention.
for just deciding that they want to tell people how to live. No.
Traditionally on my channel, I always get my guests to say goodbye, YouTube.
Goodbye, YouTube.
Yeah, thank you and goodbye. Right, great stuff. We'll get Irene back on for more Cuban chat, and hopefully she'll be in her glad rags next time. Right, thanks very much for watching. Bye.